and he's the only Northeast driver to win a championship. Rexford is not, however, included in NASCAR's top 50 drivers that they indoctrinated in 1998. Bill Rexford, and you look at the picture there, and the helmet that they wore, and the straps, and I noticed the fire suit is something I right now wear to bed, just a T-shirt, whatever they're wearing. And notice the window glass still in that car. That was the car he won the championship in 1950. Our next, where are you now? Jimmy Spencer. Jimmy Spencer, Mr. Excitement. Jimmy Spencer was born in 1957 to the father. He's the son of a former racer himself. Jimmy Spencer followed his father, Ed Spencer Sr., also known as Fast Eddie in racing. Spencer started his career in late models throughout the state of Pennsylvania, and he got his first win in a late model at the Port Royal Speedway in 1976. Jimmy then moved to the NASCAR Modifieds at Shangri-La Speedway in New York, now known as Owego, and decided he wanted to move into bigger and better things. Then he moved to the top, became one of the top contenders, I should say, in the NASCAR Modified Championship at a time when every sanctioned race in the country counted. And he was one of the top contenders there. He was second to Richie Evans that season, his first season, in the final standings, when NASCAR changed the National Modified Championship into the smaller scheduled Winston Modified Tour. Now it is called the Whelen Modified Tour. He moved to that in 1985. He's continued to run and won titles back-to-back in 1986 and 87. He went into the Busch Series in 85. And then in 88, he was 34th in the point standings in that series. And in 89, Spencer won his first career Busch race at the Hickory Motor Speedway. Then went on to win 2 more races over the course of that season. And the Busch Series is now what is known as the Xfinity Series. In 1989, he moved to what was called the Winston Cup, the Monster Energy Cup Series, and in driving the number 88 Crisco Pontiac for Buddy Baker's team in 17 of 29 races. He also drove for Travis Carter Motorsports, and he also drove for Dick Moroso. Late in the 1992 season, Spencer joined Bobby Allison Motorsports, their Cup team, and posted 3 top 5 finishes in the last 4 races of the season. He signed on to drive Allison's number 12 full-time in 93 and finished in the top 5 times. And it also resulted in a career-best 15th in the final point standings. In 94, he drove the number 27 McDonald's car for Junior Johnson and won his first 2 and so far only career Cup races at Daytona and Talladega. No easy place to win. 1994 Pepsi 400, Spencer was his first Cup race despite leading only 1 lap. He won the first career pole at North Wilkesboro. After finishing out his racing career, Spencer left to reunite with Travis Carter, who was now fielding the number 23 Smokin' Joe's Ford. He finished in the top 10 4 times in 95 and in 96. Spencer also had top 5s en route to a 15th place finish in the point standings. In 98, the Winston Noble became the team's primary sponsor, and he suffered injuries at the Brickyard, forcing him to sit out the next 2 races and recover. Spencer formed his own NASCAR team, the Spencer Motor Ventures, which fielded the number 12 Zippo Chevrolet Monte Carlo in the Busch Series for himself and several other drivers. The team expanded in 1999, fielding the number 12 and number 5 Schrader National Chevy for Dick Trickle. We all remember Dick Trickle. And in 2000, he moved his team up to Cup again to run road course races with Boris Said. After a 20th place finish in 1999, Winston left the team as a sponsor, and Kmart became his new sponsor, causing Spencer to switch his number to number 26 to accommodate his sponsor because they already had a 66 that Kmart was sponsoring. 2001, he won the pole at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Lowe's Motor Speedway and advanced to 16 in points despite it, and then departed the team at the end of the season. Now, Jimmy Spencer went on to do other things in the series, but Jimmy Spencer went on to become an announcer. He announced on Speed TV, and he had his own TV show on Speed TV called What's the Deal, along with Ray Dunlop in 2010. Spencer is currently retired, living in North Carolina. However, he does visit his home state of Pennsylvania on occasions, and he's married to his wife, Pat, for 36 years. That's incredible, incredible. Jimmy Spencer with the big cigar. And I could share a Jimmy Spencer story. I was up in the tower as race director at the Mansfield, Ohio racetrack, and Jimmy Spencer was there as an honored guest and going to throw the green flag, and he was like the Grand Marshal. And we were up in the tower, and the race was going on and on and on, and there was no yellow. Nothing was happening. And the top three were running away. They started lapping half the field, and Jimmy Spencer whispers in my ear, "You need a caution." And I said, "Be nice." He goes, "No, you need a caution." Ed Cox was up there in the tower as well. He was the series director. And he says, "Jimmy, my guys aren't going to throw a piece of foam out of the car to grab a caution like you did at whatever track you did it at." And Jimmy just laughed. He goes, "I got to talk to these guys because they need a caution." But anyway, Bill Rexford, Jimmy Spencer, Rexford, a pioneer in our sport, and Jimmy Spencer, one of those guys that did everything from the weekly racing series to the cup level, went on as an announcer on TV, had his own show, and he's enjoying his retirement. And I'll tell you what, he earned it. He definitely earned it. You know, and when you look at some of these things, you know, and doing some of the research for where they are, Bill Rexford, he lived to the ripe old age of 67, passing away in 1994. As I said earlier, one of the youngest driver to win a top series championship. And I looked at, looking at his statistics and things of that nature, and I wondered, here's the champion. Why didn't he come back in 51? Why didn't he come back? Why did he not come back and continue to compete the full schedule? And the other thing I could come up with in my brain is, it was back in those days, you relatively had to have a lot of money and a supportive family, because you didn't fly back and forth to the events. You didn't have a hauler driver to take your car to the racetrack. You did it yourself. And you got in your car and you hooked the trailer to it, or you got in your pickup truck and went on to the next one. And there were events that were back to back. And I can remember at the old ISO Speedway here in Long Island, Bobby Allison showing up with what looked like a demo derby car and signing into the back gate and talking to Bob O'Rourke and asking him where's the nearest junkyard because he needed parts. And that was in the mid-'60s. Go back 15 years, these guys are racing stock cars. And Lee Petty used to drive his car to the track in this era. But and you look at this, the guy's the champion. You didn't really earn a lot of money racing. You could. It was a full-time job. You couldn't really make a lot of money, but you paid the bills. But you were away for 50 weeks out of the year back then. And like I said, sometimes it was 2 and 3 races in a week. And they just start and do the trail up to the north and shoot across to the west and come back down and shoot across back east and start it all over again. And you look back on that and you're like, wow. I got to give those guys credit for what they did back in those days. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to talk about the Formula One results, the NHRA, and some news out of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour when we come back.
Hey, what's I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Hey, welcome back. I didn't hear them. Anyway, welcome back. Looking at the chat room, and somebody reminded me, Jay Slice reminded me that Jimmy Spencer was the announcer at the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour event here at the Riverhead Raceway back when one of my cars was racing. It was the number 34 Blunderbuss at back. And I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe it was, 2002, 3, 4, something like that. I don't really remember. Jay Slice might remember. But, it was a double point race for the Blunderbuss, and thank goodness they don't have double pointers anymore. And we came from the back early in the race, and we're running in the top 5 after 6 or 7 laps. And all of a sudden, we were black flagged for a mysterious leak that they said the car was leaking. That was 2010, thank you. And my driver took it into the infield and got out and looked underneath. There was nothing. And he went over, first he went over to the official on the infield and said, why was I black flagged? Because there was no radios and stuff like that in this division. So he said, leaking. So they look under the car and there's nothing, not a drop, not a drop. And even the official said, I don't know, let me call up. And they said, nope, it's leaking. So the officials at the weekly track at the time, and I'm going to say this, I wasn't their best friend, and they weren't mine, and that's okay. But they knew because the tour was there, and I was a tour official, that I couldn't make a stink about it. And they kind of took advantage of that situation. I even asked them, politely, I says, can you do me a favor? Can you come show me where you think I'm leaking? Because I want to be able to fix it during the week. And we have no time. Now, considering that the weekly show was over and the tour had taken over the racetrack, they had nothing left to do but to watch the races, the local officials. And we get the car back to my shop, and it turned out that one of the cars in that division that year apparently had juiced or soaked tires, which was illegal, and the rubber ended up on the manifold of my race car. It got in and underneath and started smoking. So that was the alleged leak. And it reminded me of Jimmy Spencer. Jimmy Spencer was a very outspoken individual when he was competing. And they had just come out with pit road speeds, and he was getting penalized every time. Every time. Every time he went down pit road, up, tail end of the longest line, in too fast, out too fast, whatever it was. So Jimmy Spencer gets with the TV people, and they put a camera in the cockpit of the car, and they do pace laps. And for those who've not been to a Monster Energy Cup Series event and seen the start, they go like 4 or 5 laps, and they split the field with 2 pace cars. And when the pace car gets to pit road speed, the pace car turns its lights on. So the lights go on, and the camera sees the lights go on, and camera shows Jimmy Spencer's RPMs in whatever it was, 2nd or 3rd gear. So now we have it. Okay, boom, he's good. And the RPMs, I think it was like 3,500 or 4,000. Now it's a yellow later on in the race. He goes down pit road, and he's clearly on the camera below the RPM. Clearly. Pulls into his pit stall. Officials hold him in too fast. He comes out, whatever. Next pit stop, same deal. So then he took the footage to NASCAR, and and showed them. And it was kind of funny. He never received another pit road speeding penalty again. Just one of those things. Anyway, Formula One. Sebastian Vettel was the winner there in the Formula One series. Sebastian Vettel, he's one of those guys. He's always in the top three, it seems like, in that. And even though their series point standings have stopped, they still do some racing. And so Sebastian Vettel was the winner there, and it was the Brazilian Grand Prix. In the NHRA, Brittany Force, that's an image of Sebastian Vettel's Formula One car. Brittany Force was the Top Fuel NHRA champion. And her father, John Force, multi-time champion, broke down in tears when it was announced that she won that race. The emotions flew high, and Brittany is the first female Top Fuel champion in the NHRA since 1982, back when Shirley Muldowney was the champion in Top Fuel. Everybody remembers Shirley. They called her Cha-Cha. And back in the day, I mean, you're talking, it seems like 1982 is not that far away, but it's like a lifetime to some people. It's like 34, 35 years ago that she became Shirley the champion. And what Shirley did, and she may be one of the people, like, where are they now, that we talk about, but from what I can remember, she fought the NHRA to get her allowed and cleared to race in the series. And back then you had to be sponsored by a certain number of guys, you had to run some runs at a certain time, and you were in. And she got them to sign, and we'll talk about that. Like I said, we'll make her one of my where are they now people, and she became a champion. And I believe Connie Coletta was very instrumental in getting her into that series. In the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, Burt Myers and Brian Lofton will be driving 8 to 10 events on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Burt Myers, a Southern Modified champion. I met Burt. I've spent time with Burt. Burt was one of our early guests on our show. And Brian Lofton. Brian had taken some time off from racing. His wife passed away, sadly, from that dreaded disease, cancer, and he took some time off. But they are going to come race on the tour, and I'm looking forward to that. I really am. It's going to be an awesome opportunity, because they're hooking up with an owner, a car owner, and Ed Harvey was their car owner. Ed Harvey is no stranger to modified championships, I should say. Harvey won championships with Georgie Brunhutzel III, as well as Andy Seiss. The man's a gentleman. I've had many a conversation with him, and if he's at an event and I'm at an event, you know, he finds out, and he seeks me out. We have a nice conversation. I know they're coming out of the South, but you know, I was wondering how long it was going to take for some of these, I'm going to say owners, Southern owners, to say, hey, you know what, we could make that trip. You know, they could leave. You know, it's like the New England guys. It's like the guys, the drivers and teams that come out of Connecticut, you know, that come down to Long Island. I know people can say, that doesn't look like a lot on the map. Trust me, if you've ever tried to get onto Long Island on a Friday night and get off it on a Sunday, it's a nightmare. And so it's nice to see that these guys are coming. And I think if it all works out for them, like they're going to run 8 to 10 races, if it all works out for them, I see another team or two coming on board, maybe late in the season or sometime in 2019. So I want to wish them luck, and I want to thank Ed Harvey for coming on board and giving this Northern Series a shot. I know they were at the World Series, and like I said, you know, the hill Hillbilly Racing comes out of North Carolina, and they ran the Northern Tour for years. And, you know, it wasn't such a bad thing. It wasn't such a bad thing. Yeah, I know when they came to Long Island, they stayed overnight and whatnot, and probably in Connecticut as well. But, you know, this is what we do, and this is what, you know, you go back years and years ago, there were no motor homes and motor coaches and a driver to take your hauler, which was, it not only had your race cars, but it, you know, had a place to hang out and sleep. And, you know, bigger than a total home. If you've ever been into these double stackers that they use in the Cup Series, it's like it's a rolling house and shop all combined. It's like taking your 3,500 square foot race shop and putting wheels under it, which is attached to your house. But it's a good thing to see them get involved. And like I said, I truly enjoy when I see some of these Southern guys. And Brian Lofton, he's a good runner. Burt Myers, he's one of those guys that, you know, he runs the Madhouse there, you know, Bowman Gray, and championships there, many, many wins, and he's the guy to beat sometimes. So I'd really like to see how he's going to fare coming up to these northern races. And I'm sure they won't come to all of them, but they'll come, like I said, 8 to 10, which is more than half. And considering it's more than half, I think that'll be an awesome, awesome deal. An awesome, awesome deal. So it's good. It's good, yeah. And they need that. The Modified Series needs a couple of more top runners. And when I say that, not that the series is hurting, but when you could put a competitor into that series, you know, there's only about 14 or 15 teams that ran just about every race. So now you have 2 more that are going to run some of the bigger shows. I'm sure they're not going to come to Riverhead. Maybe, I hope they do. But I'm sure they're going to be at the Thompsons and the Staffords and the New Hampshires and the Bristols if they're still going to those events in 2018. So anyway, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the stuff going on in the racing world around us when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Turecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Yeah, lots going on. We're coming to this time of year in racing, and we got coming up, you know, Thanksgiving's in a week and a half. And when when you think of Thanksgiving weekend and racing, it's the Turkey Derby, which is held at the Wall Township Speedway down in Wall, New Jersey. And I've only been to a couple of Turkey Derbies in my lifetime, and my old buddy, the late WJ, and when I told him one time that I never went to the Turkey Derby, and he looked at me, he goes, "You're kidding me?" I said, "Well," I said, "I worked for UPS, and peak started like that week, and we worked that Wednesday late, then we worked Friday, Saturday, and you know, and then it was just, you were there, you went to work on Monday and you came home Saturday." So I never went to Turkey Derby. So and I had gone and I had a good time, and it wasn't that cold because I had heard horror stories. But the long-term forecast for this upcoming 2017 Turkey Derby is snow. So I'm thinking that it's going to be snowy and cold. Now it's a long-range forecast. So by our next show, we should have a short-term forecast next Monday, and we'll get to talk about some of that. But I know they had an open practice this past weekend, and it was very cold. And I know the Eastern Long Island kart racing folks, they had an event this past weekend, and from what I could see, it was very cold. And I remember when my children were racing in the Eastern Kart Racing Association, and this time of year, and and the way they set it up. And now, granted, there were a heck of a lot more go-karts and champ karts that used to be in EKRA, back then compared to back now, and why, I don't know. Maybe somebody could fill me in one day, but we would get there at like 7:30 in the morning, get to your pit spot, do what you got to do, unload, get ready, and it'd be cold. And practice would go out about 9 o'clock, and we'd have practice for a couple hours, then it'd take a break. And sometimes, if something was going on at the racetrack, we'd have to set the racetrack up with the hay bales and the foam and the tires. And it was a long day. There was so many classes, so many divisions. And then there was post-race tech, and fortunately for us, or unfortunately, it seemed like my daughter she was always in tech, and tech sometimes could be intense, believe it or not, for a champ kart. But I guess when you're winning a lot, they tend to do that. I guess I did that too when I was a head official at a weekly racing series track when a guy was winning all the time. And then they'd hand out your trophies at the end of the day, and they gave out trophies for everything. I mean, it was, whatever place you came in, it seemed like you got a trophy. And, people look at this now as, you're given a trophy for finishing fifth. I was never for that. Even though it was for the kids, I was never for that. You want to recognize them, and maybe they could have been given certificates, but the winner should get the trophy. Just that, and that's how I feel. And not everybody, I don't believe in that participation award, because now what happens when these kids go from go-karts and champ karts and they go to the weekly racing series, or they go to their local racetrack, unsanctioned racetrack, they kind of expect that now. And oh wow, I want that. And it takes them a while to adjust to, not even for your qualifying event do you get a trophy. One guy gets a trophy at winning his feature, and in all these years I've been doing this, I only remember one guy that won a feature that didn't get a trophy. That it was so embarrassing that one of the other drivers went and got it for him. First place, you win a feature, there should be a trophy. And a lot of racetracks look for trophy sponsors, somebody to pay the bill for the trophy. Now, a lot of people say, how much could a trophy be? Well, they range in price, obviously. But if a racetrack has 5 divisions running a night, and they run 20 nights a year, that's 100 trophies. And everybody's like, well, that's not a lot of money, right? What is it, $500 or $700? And you could get a trophy for that. But I feel that the trophies, and they should be based on, the feature series division winner should get a little bit bigger than the next level and the next level and the next level. And a lot of people get upset when I refer to a division as the entry-level division. I remember I wrote a column one time, and I put that a driver was moving up from the figure eights up to the late models, and people said to me, what do you mean moving up? I was moving up to a late model. It's a step up. No, he moved over to the late models, and people take offense to that. Even in my own local racetrack with the blunderbuss, I called that the entry-level class, and I got chastised for that. And then I showed them in the rules where it said that this is an entry-level division. And I don't know if it's still in there. I bet you it is. But It's a race division, and you know, you win a race, you deserve a trophy. And if Acme Corporation is that night's sponsor, you know, maybe when they negotiate the deal between the track operators and the sponsor, you know, consider that. Consider that. Hey, you know, it's going to cost you XYZ number of dollars to sponsor tonight, and part of that fee is a trophy. Our trophy maker is Trophy Company Incorporated, and they have them. I've been to racetracks where they've had the season's worth of trophies in a back room, and they hand them out that night, and some of them will actually go the week after and give them the little plate that goes with their name, which is awesome. And it's all about recognition. Like a lot of people say, I do this for fun. Absolutely, we do this for fun. Some of us do it as a business. But when you're doing it for fun, you want to be recognized. You want to be recognized for the fun that you had and what you're doing. And you know, to not be recognized, what happens? You know, you don't want to go anymore. You lose your excitement, you lose your drive. And this is a plea to all the track operators out there. Make sure you have a trophy for your feature division winner. And I don't mean a little, you know, 8-inch thing that says, you know, winner. A nice trophy without a plastic base. Go with a marble base. Go with a wooden base, nice stain. Do that. Even plaques. I know the Thompson Motorsports Parts does plaques a lot. And I personally would prefer a plaque because you can put it up on the wall and, you know, it's easy to dust. You just take the dust rag and you run it across the top and side. But when you have trophies all over and you have a trophy room or a trophy case, they became a real hassle to keep clean and neat. And you know, you look at these places that these race teams. I was in one guy's home and he had a trophy room, and he had, I would have to say back then, he probably had 16 or 17 years worth of trophies, and in that stretch, he probably had like 5 or 6 championships, and probably 40 or 50 wins. You know, some best appearing car ones, and you know, crew chief of the year stuff, and he had all these trophies in the room. And it's nice, but I also think plaques are nice too, because people will come to your home, your shop, your office, wherever you keep these things, and they actually, you know, they look at the plaques on your wall. They'll look at the trophies in a group. Oh wow, got a lot of trophies, but they seem to read the plaques. So, you know, for all those track operators and track owners and people who make decisions about who's getting a trophy, I think something to think about for 2018. You know, the budget for trophies. If you have a race sponsor, like I said, you have a race sponsor, you make it part of the deal. You make it part of the deal, and you'll provide it, but they're going to pay for it. So you do something nice. And you know, and I've seen some of the trophies at some of the weekly racing series tracks, and then I see the trophies that some of these kids get at go-karts. And the go-kart trophies are insane. They're just, it's something to be proud of. It's not that you're not proud of that win that you had, you know, back when, but you want to, the trophy should match the emotion, in my opinion. You know, if you won a feature event, hey, that could be the only one you ever win. It could be the only one. And you're going to highlight. The only trophies I ever won in racing were for crashing. You know, you know, I didn't have any top 3s, top 5s. I had some top 5s, but you know, I never won a race in my whole entire life as a driver. But I had a lot of fun doing it. But I got the most spectacular accident at Riverhead Raceway in 1996, and I got a nice plaque from the Suffolk Association for Figure 8 Racing for being inducted into the Ernie Maynard Memorial Safer Hall of Fame, and. I have my racing plaques. I have a few, and but you know, I'm proud of those things. Just as you should be. But I don't have any trophies for like 10th place or 19th place or for showing up. No, I don't think I do. But anyway, those are the things you want to look at, and as you grow older, you know. And I always look at tomorrow. When I say tomorrow, you grow older, you're sitting there. And you know, your grandchildren are there, or your nieces and nephews, and you know, and they says, "Oh, what's that for? What did you get that for? Now, of course, the 20-lap feature win on a 54-mile bull ring becomes a 500-lapper on a 200-mile, on a 2.5-mile racetrack. And, you know, people were beating and banging you, and you came from the back twice, and that's how you won. You know, the story's getting embellished. It's like the fisherman's story, you know. The fish was this big on the boat, but when he got home, it was this big. You know, and that golfer who, you know, he almost got the hole-in-one, you know, and he was like inches off the cup. But in the meantime, it was, you know, on the fringe of the green, but it was almost a hole-in-one by the time you tell everybody. It goes out and it gets embellished. But those are the things that make life fun. And like I said, that's why we do this racing thing, because it's fun most days. And when I say most days, we've all had those days where we said we're not coming back. We've all had those days we're done. We've all had those days where somebody would say, you know, I'll give you, you know, XYZ thousand right now, and because you're aggravated, you're okay, I'm done, you know. And one driver talked to me about this one time. He had all his equipment up for sale, so, and I'm saying this goes back about 15 years. And I went to him, I was, yeah, I'm interested, maybe 12 or 13. But anyway, it's not relevant. But I went to him, we're going to buy everything the guy has. There's 2 cars, 3 motors, a hauler, spare parts, equipment, boom. And we talk serious, like often. When it came time to make the deal, the guy backed out. And at first I was a little upset and disappointed. And then I says, why are you backing out? You know, we've been talking about this for months. He goes, well, I was thinking if I ever want to get back in, I can't get back in for what I'm selling all of this for. And I thought about that. And I said, you know, he's right. And I can remember when I sold our Champ cart. You know, a guy was getting his stepdaughter involved in kart racing, and he came to my place, and you know how people try to get you down. Well, I started with a number up here, and he agreed to it, and then I was like, wow, well, all right, here's all my gears, here's all my clutches, here's all my spare part, here's my cart stand, here's my roller. I mean, everything I had, I gave to him. And then I thought about it, you know, a couple of years later, that individual told me once you get rid of it and you want to go back, it's going to cost you a lot more. And I was like, wow, I wish I didn't sell all that stuff. But anyway, that's you know, I just want to recognize the people that work hard and do that and get these wins. And I even think in some divisions at the weekly tracks, the owner, if there's a separate car owner, you know, that owner should also get a trophy as well. All right, enough of the trophy talk. We're going to take a break, and we come back, we're going to talk about Phoenix, because we got a lot to talk about in Phoenix. We'll be back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8 Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Willie. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming We Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, we're back. Hey, before we talk about Phoenix, there was a gentleman that some of us may or may not know, but he was one of those guys that videotaped races from all over, in dirt, asphalt, the north, the south, the east, indoor, outdoor. I only know him as Big Mike, and Big Mike passed away, I believe, last week, and he was one of those guys that he was always on the roof of the press box, or in a top row, or on a camera stand somewhere filming races. And like I said, I everywhere. And I first met Big Mike face to face is at what's called now the Evergreen Speedway. And I had chatted with him online, did some social media stuff back and forth. I watched his videos, I've seen his videos. I've been at trade shows where I've bought some of his stuff. I've been given some of his stuff. But I went there and we shook hands, and I met Big Mike, and Big Mike was Big Mike. And once I was there, he went and told the track announcer, Dino, at the Evergreen Speedway there, that I was there. Doesn't mean nothing to me. I'm just one of many. And the track announcer made a big deal that I was there, saying that Joe from the 505 on Racing Show at Inravio.com was there, and I was wearing the black hat that I used to wear when I did the show earlier. And he says he's on the front stretch, just below the press box, with the black hat, and people got up and cheered. And a couple of other times, if I got up to go to the men's room, hey, goes Joe from the 505 on. And this was all because of Big Mike pumping me up. And I remember going to the Orange County Fair Speedway, the House of Power, and cold October day, upstate New York, and going to a diner, and I want to share this, so it's kind of funny, which I had gone to many times, just like every time I go up to this racetrack, the Orange County Fair Speedway, we go to the same diner, and they know us. But this time Big Mike came with us, and we go, and they're like, Mike says, well, I'll have this, we're out of that, I'll have this, we're out of that. Everything he asked for, they were out of. And now my plate would come, and sometimes my buddy Kevin, he would come with us, not come with us, but we'd get the same thing. And Kevin would come on a little plate, little plate, and it'd be the same thing I got, but mine would be on a big plate overflowing. And it was obvious I got some of his, because the waitress was like, just being nice to me because I was a TV star, I guess she thought. And but every time I went there, we got that. But we'd go with Big Mike and always had a good time. So, when I go to some of these events, when I go down to Atlantic City for the indoor races, it's going to be sad not to see Big Mike on the infield, filming and recording. And anybody who's ever known Big Mike or seen Big Mike at the races filming, he was one of the good guys. He was one of the good guys, and he has a history of auto racing videos that you could probably, I'm sure, still get online. And I'll find out about that and for our next show. But, prayers to Big Mike and his family. He was a good guy. He was a good guy. Anyway, Phoenix, last races for the last playoff spot. And we'll start with the Camping World Truck Series. Camping World Truck Series, yes. Johnny Sauter, he was the winner there, followed by John Hunter Nemechek. Cody Coughlin was third. Chase Briscoe was fourth. Kaz Gralla, fifth. Stuart Friesen was sixth. Todd Gillian was seventh. Christopher Bell, eighth. Austin Cindric, ninth. Bailey Curry rounding out the top 10. The final four going into Homestead to determine the champion will be Johnny Sauter, Austin Cindric, Matt Craftston, and Christopher Bell. Basically, whoever has the best finish of those four will become the Camping World Truck Series champion for 2017. The Xfinity Series was also at Phoenix, racetrack in the middle of the desert. William Byron was the winner there, followed by Ryan Blaney. Eric Jones was third. Christopher Bell, fourth. Daniel Hemrick, fifth. Blake Koch was sixth. Cole Custer, seventh. Alex Bowman, eighth. Austin Dillon, ninth. And Justin Allgaier rounding out the top 10. The final four in the point standings going into Homestead, Miami. William Byron, Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, and Daniel Hemrick. Speaking of Justin Allgaier, his crew chief, Jason Burdett, on the Allgaier's number 7 Xfinity car, has been fined $10,000 and suspended for one event, which is the last and final event at the Homestead, Miami, Florida racetrack for a rules violation. The rule violation has to do with rear brake cooling adjusters on the rear brakes. It's supposed to be a closed system. For some reason, there wasn't. And I'm kind of surprised that at this stage in the game, and with a team going for a championship in the Final Four, that crew chief would make that kind of an error. I don't understand that. So now Justin Allgaier is going to Miami, the Homestead, to race for the championship, to beat Byron Sadler and Hemrick without his crew chief. Now, I'll tell you what, if I'm in that position, you technically, when you're suspended, you can't go in the garage. Not technically, you can't. There's nothing to stop him from buying a ticket and sitting in the grandstands. There's nothing to stop him from having the sponsor get him a pass to go in the suite up top. So theoretically, the crew chief, although suspended, can communicate with the team. Can NASCAR stop that? I don't think so. If he uses the NASCAR frequencies, or there are assigned frequencies that they talk to the driver, that they could, because they monitor that. But he could cell phone, he could use another whole frequency and talk to them and run it from, he could run and do the job from the parking lot. But you know what? It's like any other sport, any other ideal that you're involved with. You know, you're going for the championship. You want your team intact. You want them sitting on top of the pit box. Suspended for something like that, I've seen teams do more. I've seen teams get larger fines for their crew chiefs. I've seen teams do things where I was like, wow, he should be suspended, and they're not. You know, suspension. NASCAR doesn't give out too many suspensions in the top series, so I'm thinking there's more to this than that is being reported to the media. And yes, the cup race. I sat and watched it. I stayed awake. Usually it comes on, I'm asleep. I wake up because I hear the excitement at the end, or I hear the excitement over the stages. And I was not, as many of you know, not a big fan of this playoff system that they have in this series. But as we all know, back at Martinsville, Chase Elliott was on his way to what appeared to be his first victory, and Denny Hamlin punted him. He punted him. It's short track racing, but he punted him. Put him in the fence, done deal. He doesn't get the win. He finishes way in the back. He doesn't have the points to be in the top 4. So I'm watching. I'm going to see how long is it going to take Chase Elliott to return the favor. Late in the event, and he doesn't punt him. He doesn't bang him. He pushes him up to the wall coming off a corner. And that's easy to do because 8 wheels go better than 4, and he kind of did one of those. Hamlin hit the wall, and then he went by. Part of the body of Chase's car caught the left front tire, as did the car from hitting the wall. Had a couple of bent rims, air seeps out. A couple of laps later, Hamlin's tire blows, bam, he's in the fence, he's out of it. You returned the favor. Is that something you want to see in racing? Some people do. But you know, Denny Hamlin was a gentleman about it and a sportsman, and he said, when he came out of the care center, he goes, I guess I did him and he did me, so it's all over. We all got to do what we got to do to get in. So that's what happened. But anyway, the results from Phoenix. Matt Kenseth was the winner there, followed by Chase Elliott, who needed a win to get in, just missed it. Martin Truex Jr. finished third, Eric Jones fourth, Kevin Harvick fifth, Jamie McMurray sixth, Kyle Busch seventh, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. eighth, Eric Almirola ninth, Dale Earnhardt Jr. rounding out the top 10. For Kenseth, this is his first victory in quite some time, and Kenseth will be leaving the team. He's been replaced, as we spoke about last week, and I'll tell you what, Matt Kenseth, even though he's 45 years old, gets to go get it done, and he's one of the best drivers that the series has that will not be racing in 2018. He doesn't have a ride yet, and it doesn't look like there's anything on the horizon, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Matt Kenseth in 2018. Social media is going crazy. They're naming drivers and calling them mediocre, that Kenseth should have that ride. And let me explain something, or attempt to explain something. Think about this. You're a team owner, and you got Joe Blow. You just brought Joe Blow in because your budget says you could pay X. Matt Kenseth comes in and says, I'll drive you, but I want 4 times X. It's not in your budget. And that's my opinion as to why Matt Kenseth is not with a team in 2018. Remember, when you've been at the top, you're not going to take a big cut in pay. You might do a race here and a race there as a fill-in, but if you want to run the season, if you're going to disrupt your whole life for the whole season, you want to be paid what you were making. You don't want to go down. So I'm sure Kenseth will land on his feet, and Stewart Haas Racing will do well, and Joe Gibbs Racing will do well, and Richard Petty Motorsports will do well. All these teams are going to do well with the changes that they've had in 2017 moving to 2018. So anyway, what do we got coming up? Like I said, the Turkey Derbies, not this weekend, next weekend, and we'll kind of start getting into banquet time. So anyway, it's all good, folks, and I think we're going to wrap it up tonight. So I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to log in, to watch, to chat, give us some information. Even those who are not in the chat room that are watching just to watch and listen, I want to thank you as well. So anyway, so wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this weekend, please be safe, please be careful, and a happy Veterans Day to all our veterans. It just passed, and make a difference this week, and thank a veteran. Tell somebody you love them. Give them a hug. God bless you all, and we'll see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Inravio.com. Inravio.